Imagine a time when the sun never set on the British Empire. From India to Canada, from Africa to the Pacific Islands, the British ruled over vast lands, stretching across the globe. But how did they get so powerful, and why did it all eventually fall apart? It all started in the early 1600s. Britain wasn't the giant empire we think of today. They were just a group of small, struggling islands. But then, something changed. They began to build a navy, a mighty fleet that would dominate the seas for centuries. They didn't just conquer land. They conquered trade routes, markets, and oceans. But how? The British East India Company, created in 1600, became the real engine of power. It was like a supercharged trading company, privately owned, but with government backing. They didn't just sell goods, they controlled entire nations. But then, the colonization began. The British spread their empire across the Americas, Africa, India, and Australia, building an empire that was the envy of the world. But they weren't just about power, they were about resources. Sugar, spices, cotton, and gold flowed into Britain, making them rich beyond belief. But could their empire really last? For centuries, the British Empire seemed untouchable. Their navy was unbeatable, their military force unmatched. But then, World War I and World War II hit. The cost of maintaining such a vast empire became too much. Nations they once controlled began to demand independence. And as Britain weakened, their once unstoppable empire began to crumble. What started as a mighty force, holding land on every continent, turned into a struggle to keep what they had. The Suez Crisis in 1956 was the breaking point. Britain realized they were no longer the global superpower they once were. So, what happened? The British Empire still had power, but it wasn't the same. They lost colonies, but they gained something greater, the Commonwealth. The sun may have set on their empire, but the influence of Britain lived on. They created an empire of ideas, democracy, and trade that still shapes the world today. Click subscribe and join us as we unravel more world-changing stories from the past and understand how they still influence the world we live in today.